Hello everyone! In this video, we will explore how to implement the concept of time in BPMN. We can achieve this by utilizing a specific event known as the timer event. It allows us to initiate a process instance periodically or pause it for a specific duration. Let's consider this diagram as an example. Once deployed, a new process instance will commence every 2 hours. After completing the first activity, a 10 minutes break will be incorporated before the token proceeds to the next activity. How to configure timers? Let's switch to the Implement tab and select a timer. Firstly, we need to set the type property. For the start event, it can be either date, used to start a new process instance at a certain date time, or cycle, used to start a new process instance every certain time, such as every 2 hours in our example. Next, we need to define the value for the cycle property, which can be represented in the ISO 8601 format. In our example, we will define it as RPT2H. This stands for repetition, period, time 2 hours. Please follow this link for the configuration information. You can also alternatively use cron expressions for a more precise tuning, i.e., for example, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on working days. Regarding the second event, which is an intermediate timer event, we have the options date and duration. Please note that date is currently not supported at the time of recording this video. Therefore, we will choose the duration option, which is commonly used. For the value, we will set it at PT10M to indicate 10 minutes. That's it. Now we can deploy our process. As soon as the process is deployed, the timer event starts to count, and after 2 hours a new instance will be generated. It's been a couple of hours now. Let's check in the Operate tool in order to monitor our process instances. As expected, a new process instance is created every 2 hours. If we open one of them, we can observe that the second activity is executed after a 10-minute delay from the first one. Timers can also be utilized to manage exceptions. Let's consider the following use case. This scenario involves a typical vacation request validation pattern. Upon validation, a communication will be sent to the requester. What happens if the manager fails to approve the request on time? Let's say the manager is on vacation as well, for example. In such cases, the process instance gets stuck and the requester's validation remains pending. How can we handle these situations? Firstly, we can use a non-interrupting timer event to send a reminder for the pending task. The timer will trigger after 2 days without stopping the activity it's associated with. Consequently, the manager, once reminded, can proceed with the task. If the manager still doesn't take any action, we can utilize an interrupting timer event to halt the activity after 5 days and automatically approve the request. For the configuration, it's similar to the intermediate timer event we discussed in the previous example. For the non-interrupting timer event, we also have a cycle option that allows for multiple triggers. Let's set the value as R2P2D, which means it will be triggered twice every 2 days. For the interrupting timer, we'll set the value as P5D after 5 days. Now, let's deploy and start a new process instance. We just need to wait for a couple of minutes to observe the outcomes. After 2 days, the non-interrupting timer event triggers, completing the remind requester task. Please note that the approve request task is still available at this point. After an additional 2 days, the remind requester task is completed for the second time. After 5 days from the beginning, the interrupting timer event triggers, cancelling the approved task and automatically approving the request. Now it's your turn. Experiment with the timer event in the Camunda Modeler.